Welcome back to Time Out with the Sports Doctor podcast, where life, sports, and medicine intersect. We're very glad that you continue to support this podcast. You can get the information on any platform where podcasts are played, as well as getting the video content on YouTube. But if you want to just get one place to find all the content, go to my website at drderrick.thesportsdoctor.com, and you will find everything on that website. So without further ado, let's get into this episode. So I'm live from Atlanta. I've been attending the 7-figure speaker course, and I really just wanted to get on to capture some of my thoughts from day one of this conference, which was excellent. I came expecting to be able to hear a lot about learning how to be a better motivational speaker, how to be a better public speaker. I really didn't expect the impact of all the speakers from a spiritual and emotional standpoint, and really just not technical things about how to be a better speaker, but really honing in on who you are as a person. And some of my favorites, the reason why I was attracted to this conference, number one, is some of the people that I've been listening to for the last 3 to 5 years, from Inky Johnson to Dr. Eric Thomas, the hip hop preacher, Jeremy Anderson, are putting on the course or putting on the conference. So I knew it would bring value. I know that they are some of the top in what they do in the field. And I know that they are men of God as well. But I really did not understand the impact that their spirituality would have in this conference. So I just want to share a couple of things that I took away. Coach Crump, he first came on and said, a lot of people want to get these speaking deals and high paid speaking engagements, but are you a 7-figure person? And that really hit home. Are you a 7-figure person? Do you have the value system? Do you have the work ethic? Do you have everything in place to be able to sustain a 7-figure speaking business or be that person? Do you have the values to not let the money corrupt you? He started off by saying, what is your 168? So 24 times 7, 168. How do you spend your time? How do you value your time? How is your weekly schedule? Are you disciplined? Do you have systems in place to be able to be structured enough to be productive? So I thought that was very impactful. And then Dr. Eric Thomas came on, and you know that anytime he's on the stage, you're going to feel the emotion, the raw emotion that he brings and the impact that he always brings. But he said that many people have more confidence than they have competence. Many people have more confidence than they have competence. So you have to make sure that you know what you're talking about, number one. And you have to make sure that not only do you know what you're talking about, but you know how to get these speaking engagements. You know how to handle the business of being a speaker. He talked about 3 things: your impact, your influence, and then the income. So impact, the ability to move people. What about you leaves an impression on people? Be a force. Impact allows you to increase whatever your area of focus. So impact allows you to increase whatever your area of focus is. So your impact, you don't want to just stand in front of a bunch of people and read off a paper, or stand in front of people and just tell stories or whatever without really making an impact. So first way to make an impact, you have to first be genuine, and then you have to also connect with your audience or connect with whoever you're speaking to. And also spend time on your craft. Spend time on whatever it is you want to do, whether it's podcasting, speaking, whatever. You have to really spend time. And that one thing I did today was a lot of reflection on, who do I want to be known as? Who do I want to be as a speaker? What stories in my life will connect more with somebody else that's going through it? I like this. He was talking about everybody, or people come up to him and say, man, I wish I had your speaking engagements. Man, I wish I had your cars. I wish I had your house, your lifestyle. But he was saying that, you have to be authentic. And also talking about, if you're taking clothes back to a store, you have to have receipts, right? So if you have not put in the work, if you have not put in the time, if you have not built your platform, how can you expect to get the same money or have the same impact that someone who's been doing it for over 25 years? So he talked about, if you're taking clothes back to the store, if you got receipts, it's a real simple process. You walk in, you present your receipt, you hand over the clothes, give them the credit card. it's a done deal. If you walk in a store without receipts, you got to really try to explain yourself. So the more credibility you gain, the more receipts you gain over time, the easier it will be to get engagements, number one, and the easier it will be to get paid for the speaking engagements that you do get. And then your influence. What is your influence? Your personal branding, right? Your personal branding. Create valuable content. Don't try to mimic what everybody else is doing. Create valuable content as it pertains to yourself. And be consistent. Collaborate with others. Develop your expertise. And then when you do those things, when you have the impact, when you have the influence, the income will take care of itself. So it's funny, you barely even spend any time talking about income because it's truly a lagging factor. If you do steps 1 and 2, step 3 will take care of itself. And then for one of my favorite speakers, Inky Johnson, who I've been following probably since about 2018. I've seen him speak in person on one occasion, very impactful. And I've really been able to follow his speaking career from when he first started to now, and how he's changed, how he's had several podcasts and gone from speaking to high school events now to speaking at many different corporate events across the nation. And the thing that I love about Inky Johnson is that his ability to tell stories about himself, even when you know the stories, they're still very impactful because of the way that he delivers his message, the way that he's very unique in his approach and the way that he connects to people. So he broke down presentation systemization, I thought was very important, and how you get your audience in a rhythm. You know, he came out first playing a song, had crowd participation, had the crowd chanting back to him, and then he slowed down the conversation and was able to connect with people. But from right away, he was able to get the crowd energized right away. And also you have to recognize that you're uniquely special. There's no true duplicate of you, no matter whether or not you know somebody else on your job speaking or somebody else on your team speaking. There's no one else who's gone through the trials and tribulations, no one else who's overcome whatever you had to overcome in your life the same way that you are. So you are unique. And one thing that really stuck out about what he said was that, you know, many times we get nervous and we can even get paralyzed, have imposter syndrome. But he said, you know, you're not special enough or you're not talented enough to mess up God's calling. You know, you're not special enough to ruin God's story. So if you know that you have a purpose in your life, if you know that you have a calling on your life, do it. Because if God is leading and directing you, you're not going to mess it up. You're not even talented enough to mess it up. So that really took a lot of pressure off of me hearing that, because I know that I'm walking in a purpose and I'm trying to fulfill a God-given calling on my life. So he's going to take care of it. And as long as I'm walking and doing the things that I need to do, the rest will take care of itself. So I thought that was really impactful. And then the other thing he talked about was know how and when to land a plane. So he referenced landing a plane. So he said, always land a plane safely, number one. But a good landing is one where everyone can walk away from the plane safely. But a great landing is one where everyone walks away from the plane safely and you're able to use the plane again. So know when to stop. You know, don't be that person on stage and they call for a 10 to 12 minute speech and you're up there for 25, 30 minutes. And people are falling asleep. People are getting up, going to the restroom. Know when and how to safely land a plane. And that's the way that you will get people to continue to call you back. I thought that was very impactful. And just use your gift. Be you. Be authentic. Practice your gift. Learn how to deliver your message. No matter if they ask for an 8-minute speech, a 12-minute speech, a 20-minute speech, you need to really know your story, know how to get the crowd involved, know how to hit the climax and land the plane safely in a timely manner. And that's how you will get more and more speaking engagements. There were several more very impactful speakers. There was Jessica Lundy, who spoke about being able to get college speaking engagements. Jeremy Weber from Brand Builders talked about how to become a bestseller. I thought that was really impactful, even though I'm not an author, and most of his speech truthfully went over my head. However, you have to know, if you do write a book or if you are an author, I always thought that bestsellers come strictly off of book sales, but they do not. There's an algorithm to it. You really have to know the algorithm. It's based off of how the bestseller book works, the number of books sold, and how to make the sales count. He mentioned that if you're selling all your books for a discount, or if you're selling them all like on Amazon, you're not going to make New York bestseller list. So there's an algorithm. You have to know it. I thought that was very impactful, even though I'm not an author at this point, so it was not as relevant to me. Another impactful speaker was Dr. Alton from New York. He was a public school educator for many years and now an administrator, and he talked about how to land speaking engagements for school systems. And one thing about public schools is that they're allotted grant money to have speakers come in to help speak about relevant subjects. And some of the most relevant subjects going on in schools now are, number one, how to retain students, and then also on reading and reading comprehension. So you mentioned also getting clear on your why, get clear on the pressing issues that are bothering students and schools, and get clear on how to address the pressing issues. So one thing that I'm really passionate about is mentoring kids, because truly, like you mentioned, lives are on the line. And this, I think, children or high school students are very impactful. They're in a very impressionable time in their life where you're still able to make a large impact on their future. And in my medical practice, this is something that I really am passionate about, especially when I have my high school athletes come in. I want to always check and make sure, hey, how are your grades? What's your plans for college? Do you know how to get to college? So I feel like this area really spoke to me, because mentorship for high school students and for junior high students has always been very impactful. So what I took away is that I really need to develop a curriculum so that when I interact with kids and when I speak to kids, I can give them something meaningful that they can take home and be able to apply, more so than just having them leave with that good feeling, that warm, fuzzy feeling, and then not really know what to do with it. So some of the top pressing issues that he mentioned that people normally speak on in schools are achievement gaps in equity, teacher and leader recruitment and retention, student well-being and mental health, district, school, family, and community engagement partnerships. So if these are areas or something that you are involved in, then you might be good for teaching in high schools or in the middle school settings. Coach Tim Walton from Ohio State University was another very impactful speaker. He gave a lot of helpful tips about some of the hot topics that are spoken on in college sports, such as mental toughness, rest and recovery, sleep, and really just how to take care of your body, injuries, injury prevention, which is something that I could speak on. So I thought that was also very impactful. One thing that Coach Walton said is the price is the price, but the cost is ever changing. Meaning, if you're not getting the rewards from the work that you're putting in, put in more work, make more phone calls, send more emails, rehearse your talks, really hone in on your why. So the price is the price, but the cost is ever changing. I thought that was very impactful. And last but not least was Jeremy Anderson, who, I've listened to Jeremy Anderson speak some online, but not nearly as much as Dr. Eric Thomas or Inky Johnson. But I know that he was a very passionate speaker, and I was very impressed. I mean, when he came on, he said, I really don't want to speak to you about technical stuff today. I want to speak from my heart. He's a man of God. He's a minister. And it was really more like a revival than it was, telling you how to be a good speaker. And he talked about the things that he had to overcome in his life and really becoming a better man of God, becoming a better person so that God can trust you with the resources that he wants to give you, and trust you with the impact of being able to speak in front of 10s and 15,000 people at one time. So that really spoke to me because, he spoke about how he had to get his personal life in order. He spoke about how he had to honor his home, honor his family, and that's when he really was able to be the most impactful. So not necessarily just being a good technical speaker, but being a good person. Are you a 7-figure person? So he talked about 3 things: your story, your pain, and your platform. And how, your story is your story. It is what it is. And every pain point that you have can be something to help you impact other people. And the more that people are able to relate to your pain point, the more you're going to get paid and the more you're going to get speaking engagement. So he really spoke to me on a personal level. I was really impacted by that. I'm looking forward to day 2 of this conference. And, I've already felt like I've gotten the value. Now it's about applying the things that I've learned and really just honing in on what do I want, who do I want to be, and who do I want to impact. So hopefully this will help somebody else. But yeah, 7-Figure Speaker Conference has been good. Atlanta, Georgia, right in the home of the Atlanta Braves stadium. Excellent venue to host. Very impactful day. One thing Jeremy Anderson said as well, a quote from Inky Johnson, is don't be a public success and a private failure. So that was really impactful for me to try to work on things that I still need to do personally. It doesn't matter what people say when you walk off a stage. It doesn't matter what people say at your job. If you're not being the person that God called you to be, then are you truly being impactful? So very impactful day. Looking forward to day 2. Peace.
Thank you for continuing to support this podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, then please leave a 5-star review. And if you haven't done so, subscribe so you continue to get the updated episode. Until later, peace. With the sports doctor, keep our head right in the game. We ain't never stopping. You are now tuned in. Trust you don't want to miss. This is where life, sports, and medicine.